I was just talking about Jenrick, and I don't think I've really said enough because Jenrick has been on the wireless, and He's been talking his head off. In fact, wherever you look, there's Jenrick, this sort of performative paladin of public order who seems to believe that the rules apply to everyone but himself. And this former housing secretary, now shadow justice secretary, second-rate sort of shadow minister, and and most recently this a vigilante fare inspector moonlighting on the London Underground. His antics, filming himself confronting alleged fare dodgers and dog whistling about arming prison officers, show a man not so much pursuing justice as auditioning for a place on GB News. And all this from someone who, lest we forget, once unlawfully intervened in a planning application to save a Conservative donor £45 million. So begin with the footage. Jenrick, iPhone in hand, roaming TfL property without permission, filming passengers, some of whom he accuses of fare evasion, for a video now viewed tens of millions of times. It's not clear whether he obtained permission to film. It is clear that he broke Transport for London rules to do so. More galling still, when one man allegedly muttered that he had a knife, Jenrick didn't report it to the police. He later claimed he didn't want to make it about him, but the video, saturated with captions and confrontational edits, is very much about him. One's left asking what sort of Justice Secretary fails to report a knife threat on the tube, then doubles down on social media with pseudo-authoritarian rhetoric about restoring public order. The irony is, of course, is that it is as thick as Mr. Desmond's wallet. Jenrick once unlawfully approved a £1 billion development by Tory donor Richard Desmond, timing his decision to save the developer up to £45 million in community levies, an actual finding of unlawfulness, not a mistake, not an oversight, unlawful. Yet now, from the security of opposition, Jenrick has discovered that the political virtues of getting stuck in. But rule-breaking in his moral universe only matters when it's by people at the bottom of the pile, not at the top with planning applications, party donors and dinner fundraisers. But the problem, a brilliant interview by Lewis Goodall so acutely put it in their exchange, is that hypocrisy at the top erodes respect for the rules at the bottom. And so to prisons, in a move that appears lifted from the darkest corners of Reddit, Jenrick now proposes arming specialist prison officers with tasers, baton rounds, and access to live firearms. Guns in prison armories, stun grenades. This is the stuff of dystopian thrillers, not sensible justice policy. And of course, the justification is extremism. Islamist terrorists, killers from the like the Southport attacker. But when you peel it back, the rationale, it's classic Jenrick, alarmist, value, vague value on logistics, and rooted in a worldview, a weird worldview where society is teetering on collapse, held together only by men with tasers and well-cut suits. The Chief Inspector of Prisons has already warned of the risk of drones smuggling weapons, and Jenrick has leapt from that to advocating for lethal force on standby, not just response teams, but a vision of the British prison estate resembling a paramilitary compound. And then there's the strangest dog whistle of them all. When challenged on crime, Jenrick warns about weird Turkish barber shops, suggesting they are fronts for organised crime. This isn't about policy. This is about narrative, and haircutting, it's a way of insinuating criminality via cultural othering, drawing on the undercurrents of the online far right. And indeed, leaked messages show Jenrick exchanging praise with far-right Twitter accounts, echoing their views on mass migration, crime and social collapse. The language is coded but recognisable. Mass migration is being covered up, he warns. The same phrases you'll find beneath grainy videos posted by anonymous accounts with names like Empire Returns or Britannia Reborn. It's not about race. That's what he says. It's not about race. I'm not being racist. But it is about race, Robert. It is. That's the whole point. You're triggering the sort of things that ultimately are called racist. You may not be a racist. but you are certainly pressing the buttons of racists. Jenrick's political performance is not driven by evidence or proportion. It's driven by algorithms and desperation. Each confrontation on the tube, each barb about migrant crime, each exaggeration about a crumbling Britain, they are all posts in search of a viral message. Virality, not virility. Virality. Well, actually, probably virility as well. He's the political equivalent of a ring light and a rage script. He sees himself as a Thatcherite for the TikTok generation. In truth, he's a man haunted by a sense that he's been left behind by his own scandals, by his party, by history, by Badenoch. Now he rebrands himself as the man who will say what others won't and say it loudly. Robert Jenrick is not the first politician to confuse noise for leadership, but he may be one of the most transparently opportunistic, from unlawful planning decisions to unlawful filming, from failure to report knife threats to failing to understand the consequence of dog whistle politics. He is a case study in the decline of political seriousness, and this is so sad because he's one of the few people in Parliament today who can stand up and speak without notes. One of the few. What he offers now is not policy, it's theatre, and it's menace, and it's dangerous theatre. The kind that normalises cruelty, that stokes fear and excuses authoritarianism in the name of public order. The question is not whether Jenrick can see the contradictions, it's whether he cares. And if he feels it's so necessary to toughen up, to look tough, because people have said that he looks a little babyish or something, or he looks weak, or he's behaving in a weak way, is that the reason? Is that the reason for his viciousness? The vicious language, the vicious behaviour. Tear down those posters. There's something fundamentally wrong with Robert Jenrick. Fundamentally wrong and weak. And on that front, the silence, like the fair gates that he so dramatically guards, speaks volumes.